How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I just had a moment to sit down with Tyler from the Crypto Catch Up. I'll leave him linked underneath the video, and we go through why I'm so bullish on this market. Right now, Bitcoin's up 25% in the last 20 days. I think this is just the beginning, and I lay out some of the bullish points moving forward. I think there will be a very good end of the year / into next year. Of course, make sure you always do your own due diligence. If you want to check out Tyler's channel, it's linked underneath the video. Also, if you want to go long this market, we're up 20%, 25% in the last 20 days. If you want to long this market on this breakout, there's a link to Margex underneath the video. If you're sitting there thinking, I don't need it, I already have an exchange like Coinbase, well, Bitcoin pumps a couple percent and Coinbase is down. I don't know if this is sketchy or not. I do like Coinbase, but it's a problem having an exchange that goes down all the time and not having a backup. So check out the link to Margex underneath the video. They're doing a big Caspa airdrop right now. You can long the market, you can short the market. They're all different cryptocurrencies. They're moving big today. You can see Shiba up 25% if you want to trade it, linked underneath the video. But let's get into the content.
What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, you guys know the last few days, the last few weeks, we've been talking a lot about what's going on in the market, just talking about how bullish things have been. I've been talking about the fact that I genuinely believe that we are coiling up for something that could be just ridiculous, honestly, especially with the right catalyst. And, you've heard it from me, and I was like, you know what? Let's go. Let's bring somebody here to the channel that's been in the game even longer than I have, that looks at the game probably even more than I do, and get his opinion and get his thoughts. So, of course, today we were joined by the friend, my financial friend. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Really well. I mean, we're hitting a new not a new all-time high, but we're hitting a new local high on Bitcoin, higher low and a higher high. So I'm excited. I've been bullish. I think we've all been irresponsibly long on, on our channels. But I think, bearish people look smart for the short term and bullish people get rich. So I'm excited. Excited to walk through some of the bullish points today.
Totally. So look, what we're going to do today, guys, those of you who are catching up, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be going over some of Sam's most kind of bullish points of convictions, right? What are some of the things that he likes about this market? Does he still think it's a good buying opportunity? Does he think, where do we think that this thing could go? Maybe some different plays, some things that he's doing. And we're going to be hearing it straight from the source. So, of course, if you guys do enjoy this content, a couple of things, don't forget, this is a brand new channel. We're trying to hit 1,500 subscribers by November. So feel free to subscribe if you do enjoy the content, but let's get into it. So, Sam, let's just get this started. How are things looking? Obviously prices are up, things are good, feeling good right now, but from more of an intrinsic perspective, how's this market? Are you still super bullish?
Yeah, so I am super bullish. I think, going back 2 years, if we had built the perfect bull scenario, it'd pretty much be this, right? Like, we were worried about recession 2 years ago. Seems like we have not hit recession yet. Some people are saying we've hit recession because unemployment's going up or something. But generally, unemployment still looks okay. It's to the point where now the Fed's starting to cut rates because they're worried about that. But we'll just kind of have to monitor that. Inflation seems to be significantly down, right? We kind of plateaued around 3% inflation. Now it's starting to move down again. So economically, we look good. We're starting to lower rates. Let me actually pull up some charts for you. And we'll start kind of from the beginning. Not some charts, but some different windows. Okay, we're going to have like Inception here for a second. Okay. So, I know you look at technicals a lot. Obviously, this is extremely bullish, higher low, higher high. We on the channel have talked about leverage trading. This is something that I've been doing to kind of position myself, especially when we've hit like local bottoms. I've been going long, right? Some are more aggressive with higher leverage, like 20x. Sometimes I've done up to 50, 60x when we're very close to bottoms. And then also there are times where I've just put in more collateral for trades, right? This is a small trade, 1.1 Solana on 20x. So a little bit higher leverage, but lower overall collateral. There are some positions I've built that are multi-$1,000 positions on some lower leverage, but I kind of look at this as a way to work on TA. And, if we go up in this bullish scenario, I think it pays off, right? Especially when you're longing something at like 50,000, 52,000. I think that that's a decent getting in point, especially like some of the trades I placed on these bottoms have been higher collateral, lower leverage. So even if we break through more supports, 5x leverage at 52,000. The liquidation points like in the low 40s. So there's so much resistance and support, and I don't know what you would say for what that would be, but basically just, there are a lot of points that we have to break through to liquidate then. And then obviously having some extra money on the sidelines, even if we break those levels, you're going to catch the bottom at some point and ride it up. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I haven't been dollar cost averaging a lot because we bought so much in the bear market, took payments in Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff, just to get irresponsibly long on this market, to the point where it is like a large percent of my portfolio net worth already. So if we start moving up, like, I'm already well positioned in this. And I guess we should probably get into some of the reasons why I'm bullish in the first place. We obviously know like ETFs came to the market this year and it was extremely bullish. So many people were excited because they could finally get a hold of Bitcoin in their retirement accounts. But some other things have happened since then that I don't think people really understand the gravity of. Like this week it came out, the BNY Mellon, which is a large custody bank, was the first bank to receive SEC exemption from SAB 121. Basically, SAB 121 was showing that banks couldn't custody Bitcoin. Now, why is this important that there are banks now that can custody? Well, there's some entities that just can't hold all IBIT. They can't hold all IBIT because they have to have a certain amount. They can only have a certain amount of their cash in securities, right? Like I forgot exactly the number, but having not a security like IBIT, but having a commodity, they can do that, but they didn't have anyone to custody it before. So they were going to have to do it themselves, which puts on extra risk. Like you're talking about a company that maybe doesn't know much about custodying Bitcoin, trying to custody, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or billions of dollars. There's some entities that just aren't willing to do it, but they'll go through their bank. So now certain entities can start custodying Bitcoin through member banks, which is a big deal. Also, there's news that the SEC is greenlighting options on IBIT, which allows some entities that buy IBIT to hedge, right? So they can buy IBIT going long on Bitcoin, but maybe they want to hedge. They think we're a little bit high. They want to buy some puts or they want to sell some calls or something. They have ways of doing that without just selling IBIT and trying to position in and out. Some entities just won't buy something that they can't hedge on. And some traders love playing options too. So this just allows people to make cash flow. It allows a lot of people to start buying IBIT that otherwise wouldn't. So yeah, while we had ETFs that allowed some people to finally buy Bitcoin, there were some things that just weren't greenlit that are now finally allowed and are getting unlocked. So more entities can come in and buy. So
so just a quick question. So do you think that with them greenlighting options, right? Do you think that's going to introduce even more volatility to the market on top of what we have already? Like, do you think that's going to open up a door for that?
I think so. I think it will just cause more people to try to push the market, right? Like we see right now on options expirations, we see high volatility, right? If there's a lot of options expiring because people are trying to push the price to a certain level to make options expire worthless or to make money on them and various things. And it allows people to get leverage, right, in the traditional markets. So I think it will introduce more volatility, but I think that's good, right? Like we don't want Bitcoin to go sideways for a long time. I think that's when people get really bored and stop allocating. As Michael Saylor says, like volatility is vitality. The reason Bitcoin has done so well and is so interesting is because it's volatile. And yeah, it allows you to get better buying prices, right? If people are irrationally short or if they're irrationally selling or something like that, then you can come in and buy at a better price. So I do think that it opens up even more volatility, which allows more people too to kind of run that strategy where they go sell senior convertible notes because their stock is really volatile. They can get a really low interest rate on those or really low amount that they have to pay. And then they can use those proceeds to go buy Bitcoin, which makes their stock more volatile. And it makes it easier with volatility. So I'm excited about this. I like the volatility. I think it keeps things interesting. And then we also have, I have a lot of points here. So stop me if I'm going on.
You're good. Yeah.
Okay. So we had the Fed lower rates 50 basis points. This is as of the last 2 days. There's a over 50% probability of the Fed cutting rates again another 50 basis points. So you can see like the probability over time. There's almost zero probability a couple months ago of seeing rates at the projected amount, but now it's spiking. So now there's a 55% probability we see another 50 basis point cut from the Fed. That could be due to a variety of reasons, but we have to wait 6 more weeks for this. But that's going to make more people consider moving their money from high interest savings accounts. We were just talking about this before, like our rates have already lowered by 10% just from that first rate cut. Now they're going to lower by another 10%. So it makes risk on assets look more attractive. And you can see that like all the indices are at new all-time highs. The S&P 500, Dow, and NASDAQ are racing up. Also, we have rates lowering, but back in 2019, it took a little while for the Fed to start quantitative easing. So there are other ways that they can make it more attractive to like lend, for banks to lend and to get the economy rolling again. Back in 2019, it took 2 months for quantitative easing to start after we started to see rates fall down. And that's kind of when altcoins jumped. I just looked at Benjamin Cohen's post on that, but that's when Bitcoin dominance started to come down. That's where things really heat up, where crypto gets really interesting, where people start jumping in because they hear about some meme coin going up 1,000% and stuff like that. We also know China's cutting rates. Like it came out this week. They've had 3 different announcements on different days about stimulus. So at first they lowered the reserve requirements by 50 basis points or 0.5%. They're lowering rates for existing mortgages. Like that's kind of unheard of. I don't know if they've done that before, but I've never heard of this. Like imagine you're stuck in a 30-year loan here at, I don't know, 6%. And then they're like, oh, actually it's 5.5. That would be awesome. Like, yeah. And then they talked about some other stuff too, like implementing a stock buyback, like the country giving companies money to buy back their own stocks for like a stabilization fund or something. This came out yesterday that they're giving handouts to the poor up to, at this point, it says $5,000. It's in a different currency, but they're going to give up to $5,000 per for 5 million different people living in extreme poverty. This might be broadened out and they might pay less per person, but like that's a large stimulus check. And then this is something new as of today. China to issue 284 billion of sovereign debt as part of fresh fiscal stimulus. Half of the stimulus designed to stimulate consumption, the other half to help local governments tackle debt problems. So more stimulus yet. Like every day this week, they've almost told us about more stimulus. So quantitative easing is coming up. Money supply is moving up. That's when Bitcoin typically moves up. That's one half of the equation, right? Like people getting access to Bitcoin and then also like just more liquidity in the system. That's the demand side of it, but the supply side of it is constantly going down. There's only I think it's close to 5.91% now, because this is almost 10 days ago. 5.9% of the supply left to be mined. So Bitcoin went from a couple pennies or less to $65,000, and 94% of the supply came to the market in the last 15 years. And now we have 6% left. Now we actually have the ability, a lot of people have the ability to buy it for the first time. So yeah, 6% left. That's the supply side. We have countries that are mining Bitcoin, like the Kingdom of Bhutan. It came out that they have basically 1/3 of their GDP in Bitcoin that they've mined. And that's all in the last couple of years, I believe. I think 2019 is when they started. They've mined like 5 or 6%. I figured out 5% or so of the new Bitcoin over that time. If the US did that, our GDP is around 25 trillion. So it would be like $8 trillion of Bitcoin we'd have to buy, which would alone would cause the price to go up. If they bought every single Bitcoin, the price would go up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's if they could buy everything. Right? There's just not enough. And then, we have politicians talking about buying Bitcoin and stockpiling Bitcoin. We have countries buying. I think this is an easy narrative. Like we've talked about, there has to be some narrative that gets people irrationally long, like thinking that we're not going to stop at 100K, right? I don't want to sell my Bitcoin because it's only 100K and we're going to move up to 400, 500. There has to be some narrative. I think that might be the narrative where it's like Trump's talked about a stockpile. If he becomes president, maybe if we start looking at the possibility of buying Bitcoin as a country, even if he's not president. I saw some people say that that might be better for Bitcoin because it will like accelerate the problems that we have, like the spending problems, because the Democrats might be spending too much and then cause people to want Bitcoin even more. And there's going to be more stimulus and all that kind of stuff. So either way, I think Bitcoin does well. But like that is, I think, the big narrative that caused people to go and hold on to their Bitcoin for maybe too long. So then it pushes up to maybe 150, 180, 200, and then it falls, but everyone's still holding on for 300, 400 or something like that.
And so, and that's one thing that we spoke about not too long ago is, you know, everybody, a lot of volatility started picking up the closer we're getting to the election, and everyone's talking about it. And I'm like, listen, the options that we have here aren't that bad. Option number one is Trump gets elected. I almost said indicted. That's hilarious. But he gets elected, right? And then that's obviously extremely bullish for crypto.
Yep.
Option number two is that Kamala gets elected. The policy is either the same or a little bit better than it's been for the last 4 years. That's not that bad. Biden was in office when we peaked in the last bull run. So, it's like we're either going to stay the same or get better. And either or. And what I've come to realize is that both parties are recognizing the impact that the crypto world has now. And so they're both acknowledging it in a good way, probably just to get votes. Don't care at all, in my opinion. Whatever gets us where we're trying to go to. And so to me, I'm just like, I don't understand why people are so concerned about it. And so I guess, going forward with that same thing in mind, what are some of the biggest catalysts that you yourself are looking forward to, right? Is it elections? Is it obviously just the easing itself, right? With the economy, interest rates, kind of what's the big thing that makes you the most bullish in terms of the narrative?
Yeah, I think clarity on the elections will be big. So after the election finishes, depending on how it goes, I think crypto could jump or fall immediately after that. And there'll be a lot of volatility, so it'll probably wick a lot of people out either way. But I think once there's clarity either way, the market will probably do better over the next 6 months. I think we'll end up higher. But obviously, like every single economic event people are watching, whether it's jobs numbers like today, I think part of the reason we're moving up is because the jobless claims came in lower than expected, which makes people think the job market's better than a recession, so less chance of a recession. So I think things like that will help see or inflation, job market, GDP as well will be important, just to see like, okay, how strong is the economy? Are we growing too fast? Are we not growing enough? Because both of those are bad. So just kind of like, okay, decent would be great. 2 to 3% would be fantastic, I think, for the market. So like every week we have news like that. Obviously, if there's any company that comes out and says, yeah, we're buying some cryptocurrency, there have been a lot actually. Like It's surprising if you look, like certain public companies have been buying even altcoins, like DeFi Technologies. They've bought several coins, Solana, Core DAO, which I'm invested in as well, and then Bitcoin. They've been buying multiple, like millions of dollars of all of them. But things like that obviously will be extremely bullish. Then liquidity coming back. Like once we start to see like a random report on a Thursday, midway through the day, where M2 money supply ticks up or global money supply ticks up, people are like, oh, crap, I need to put more money into risk on assets and then shift over. I think all that's really bullish. And then I think the most bullish thing, I know we have to cut this off in a second, but the most bullish thing I've been saying for like a year, even since the ETFs were approved, were when BlackRock or Fidelity put Bitcoin in a retirement fund. So like a target date fund where someone just invests in it. They don't even know, right? They just start their new job and start buying. And instead of, 90-10, 90% stocks, 10% bonds, it's like 90-9-1 or something like that. Like they just throw a little bit in there. Maybe it's even shuffled in with the bonds. Like it's some portfolio that's in there that's supposed to cover bonds and like fixed income or something. Like we've seen variations of that for BlackRock, but that starts like how the S&P 500 works is it can be kind of irrational what companies get money in them, because it's just like a conglomerate of all the companies. So even a crappy company can get money. So it kind of bullies up the stock price. And I think that will happen with Bitcoin, where there's just continuous buys all the time.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing with that, kind of talking about that, is somebody right now, right? They're going to start getting antsy. People are going to start getting antsy. They're going to start getting feeling good. Maybe they get a little bit more money. And the biggest thing that people are going to start to question is whether or not, is it time to start focusing on Bitcoin? Is it time to start getting in on altcoins now? We are still kind of in Bitcoin season, so alts really haven't made the move yet, but some are today. Like we've seen some like Brett, Tars AI, some of the ones we talk about here on the channel a lot. They're doing well. So if somebody in your shoes, right, who's been able to buy, who's been doing, dollar cost averaging, are you shifting over to alts yet, or are you still focused on Bitcoin?
Yeah, let me pull up Bitcoin dominance real quick. I saw even Shiba Inu was up like 15 or 20% today. So yeah, I mean, you're seeing alts run up. This is a time where like I think people pricing that graphic where it's like you go straight down on a stock forever, and then there's like this little blip, and then everyone's like shouting that they're so bullish and stuff. Like that's basically the inverse of what's happening with Bitcoin dominance. Like we went up to 58.7% on Bitcoin dominance. Now we're down at 57.6. So we're seeing alts rally, but Bitcoin's still doing well.
Sure.
I have a video on my channel. It's actually the pinned video that like answers the question, should I buy Bitcoin now or wait? And that's a much better explanation for what than what I can do here. But I think basically if you don't have an allocation towards Bitcoin, it's still probably not a bad idea to get some. Like just don't put in 30% of your net worth or something like that in one foul swoop. Like maybe start at 1%. It obviously depends on your net worth and stuff. If you're worth $1,000, like no matter how much you put in, it's, I don't know, unless you put in a significant amount, it's probably not going to make a big difference because you can just work more. Yeah. But if you're worth $100,000 or something, maybe start with 1% of your net worth just so you can get used to the volatility, because you will find out things about yourself. There'll be FUD, there'll be greed and stuff like that. So you're going to make irrational decisions if you get too much in it right away. But I don't think it's the worst time to buy Bitcoin by any means. Obviously, like if you're looking at it now, why weren't you looking at it a year ago when it was irrationally low, or 2 years ago? I'd answer that question because that might indicate that maybe you can't handle the volatility. But going to altcoins, I think it's going to be a game of musical chairs. It's just that we're like, this is that point where you're like, do you want to play musical chairs with us, or do you want to sit out and you can just watch with your beer from the sidelines? Like it might be fun. It might be fun, but you might be the one that loses. So obviously if you've been allocating, you're probably doing well. If you have Bitcoin that you're switching over to altcoins, it's almost like the perfect time, unless you think Bitcoin dominance is going to go up further. But we went from 38% to 57% Bitcoin dominance. So like you played it better by just owning Bitcoin and then shifting over. But yeah, I think this is going to be the interesting part of the market where everything seems to go up. There are cryptos that are going up 100, 1,000%, 100x, stuff like that. But they'll be hard to catch. So you really have to kind of get like the lotto tickets, trying to get maybe 10 different cryptos that you think are going to do well with small portions, and then be ready to sell. Like you're not going to sell at the perfect time. You're going to feel like an idiot because you're going to buy a 10x and it's going to go to 50x. But you should be happy with that. And just like think about the money as actual like working hours. Like, okay, if I have 1,000 and I turn into 10,000 and I miss out on the 50,000, okay, great. But like if I didn't sell and it went down to zero, $10,000 is at $20 an hour is worth what, like 500 hours of my time. Like that is important. It doesn't feel important in the bull run because you're like, well, I just made 50 grand and 10 grand doesn't matter. But like it does matter in the bear market. So yeah, I guess those are my general thoughts. Like I will be allocating towards the holds, but I overall will be selling. Like I'm not going to have more crypto tokens in 6 months than I have now. Like I will sell something now. Maybe the value of the portfolio is still up because we're up in crypto in general, but I'll be selling some Bitcoin. I'll be selling some alts. I'm going to sell when it's way too low. I'm going to sell past the high as well. Like I'm going to sell all around it and I'm not going to nail it. But since we've been buying, I'm going to be up, 5x or 10x or whatever it was.
Totally. That makes a ton of sense. And dude, I feel like you Loki could have charged for these last 20 minutes, honestly. Because the cool thing is a lot of what we do here on the channel is oftentimes focus more on indicators and tools and what we're seeing. We don't particularly go as deep into more of like an economical perspective. Okay, what's happening? And so coming on and being able to kind of deliver that value, truly appreciate it. I know the crowd appreciates it, guys. If you did enjoy the content, what you can do, go check out Sam's channel. It's going to be linked down in the description below. While you are down there, feel free to go check out Margex if you do want to start trading some cryptos today. No KYC necessary, so go check that out as well. And we do have some more content coming soon for you. So if you did enjoy Sam being on the channel, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you let us know down in the comments below, and make sure you tune in next time. But we appreciate you guys for catching up with us today, and we'll see you all next time. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.